Welcome to Zoe Stories. My wife's friends transformed me for their amusement. My name is Noah Clark, 32 years old. Quiet, a little reserved. The kind of man who avoids unnecessary conversations at the office and keeps his headphones in at the gym, not for music, but to avoid small talk. People assume I'm cold or antisocial. I'm not. I just keep a part of myself locked away so tightly that it's easier to live quietly than risk being seen. I work as a graphic designer in a mid-sized marketing firm in Chicago. Clean lines, minimalist style, that's what my clients know me for. But if they ever opened the bottom drawer of my wardrobe at home, they'd see a whole other side of me. One with lace and satin, not pixels and palettes. I've been married to Mia for 3 years. She's warm, loud, and magnetic. Everything I'm not. People adore her. When she enters a room, the mood lifts. She's the kind of person who hugs strangers and laughs like she's known you her whole life. She works as a stylist for a boutique and spends most of her evenings chatting on speakerphone with her circle of fabulous friends, Natasha, Carmen, and Bree. They've always intimidated me. Stylish, confident women who command attention. I felt invisible around them. Like a husband in the background, useful for grilling or lifting boxes, not for talking about eyeliner or shoes. But here's the part nobody knows, not even Mia. Since I was a teenager, I've been drawn to femininity. It started with curiosity, then comfort, then desire. Not sexual, not exactly. Emotional. Transforming felt like slipping into a version of myself I couldn't be in public. A release. A secret identity. Of course, I buried it. Hid it beneath masculinity, marriage, work. I told myself it was a phase. I deleted browser histories. Donated the clothes. And yet, it always came back. When Mia wasn't home, I'd find myself staring at her closet. Not out of lust for her, but longing. What would it feel like to wear that silky red blouse? To walk in those delicate heels? To line my lips like she did every morning with a practiced hand? And then one day, I did it. She was away on a weekend spa retreat with her friends. I stayed home, pretending to be swamped with work. But I wasn't working. I was trembling in front of her full-length mirror, wearing one of her fitted dresses, a light touch of her foundation on my face, her perfume gently hugging my skin. I didn't go overboard, just enough to see someone else in the reflection. Someone I didn't hate. I told myself it was a one-time thing. But it wasn't. It became my ritual when she was out late with her friends. A few hours in her world, her skin. Then everything would be put back perfectly, clothes refold, makeup wiped off with precision, not a trace left behind. Or so I thought. Last Thursday, she mentioned something odd over dinner. I couldn't find my coral lipstick, she said, frowning. You know, the one from Sephora? I shrugged. Maybe one of your friends borrowed it? She laughed. Yeah, maybe Bree. That girl loves raiding my stuff. I felt my stomach drop. That lipstick had been in my pocket 3 nights ago. I was sure I'd returned it, wasn't I? Mia didn't suspect a thing, or at least, she didn't say anything. But the fear of being caught lingered. It made the next transformation both terrifying and addictive. I should have stopped. I knew it. But the pull is too strong. Especially when she said something that both thrilled and horrified me. Hey, the girls are coming over this Saturday. We might crash here afterward, watch trashy reality shows, drink wine. You're okay with that, right? I nodded, trying to act casual.
Yeah, sure.
I'll probably stay out of your way. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. You're the best. That Saturday changed everything. Saturday came faster than I expected. By noon, the house had already changed. My wife was bustling around the living room, fluffing pillows and lighting scented candles. The kitchen counter was covered with snacks, charcuterie board, rose chilling in the fridge, a bowl of M&Ms that she always said was for color. I hovered in the background, useless. Invisible. Just the husband moving from one room to the next, careful not to get in the way of her weekend plans. When I asked if she needed anything else, she smiled and waved me off. Nope. Just enjoy your man cave time, or whatever it is you do, when you disappear upstairs. I nodded, forcing a casual chuckle. If she only knew. By 4 o'clock, her friends had arrived. Their voices echoed through the house, sharp, playful, laced with inside jokes I would never be part of. Bree's laugh was loud and confident. Natasha always brought the gossip. Carmen was the smooth talker, with a voice like velvet and a way of asking questions that made you tell her your secrets. I stayed upstairs, door closed. A man in hiding. But even with the door shut, I could hear everything. Wine glasses clinking. Laughter bouncing off the walls. Someone was complaining about a guy who ghosted her. Another was mocking a Tinder profile. They talked about clothes, makeup, vacation plans. Life in the fast lane. Things I never felt included in, yet somehow always wanted to be closer to. I waited until I heard the telltale sound, the front door clicking shut. They'd left to get more wine. It was mentioned earlier in passing, some special kind of bottle they forgot to grab. Back in 20, I heard one of them yell before they disappeared. This was my moment. I moved fast. Not frantic, but practiced. I knew the routine by heart. Closet first. I selected a black bodycon dress with long sleeves, elegant and just tight enough to shape me without revealing too much. I'd studied my wife's figure, the way her clothes hugged her curves. I knew which outfits clung in the right places and which were forgiving enough for someone like me. Next, underthings. The satin bra and matching panties were new. I had bought them myself online under a fake name, delivered discreetly. I kept them hidden in a shoebox beneath the guest bed, the same bed no one ever used. I slipped into them slowly, savoring the friction of the soft fabric against my skin. My hands trembled, but not from fear. Excitement. Electricity. Like standing at the edge of a cliff, wind pushing you forward. The makeup was trickier. I'd only recently started experimenting with it. Concealer to hide the beard shadow. A light layer of foundation. A neutral eyeshadow with a shimmer just bold enough to show in the right light. Lip gloss. Not red. Not anything that screamed, trying too hard. Just enough to look right. I stood in front of the mirror and stared. Not Noah. Someone else. Someone who smiled shyly back at me, unsure if she had the right to exist. My heels clicked lightly against the hardwood floor as I walked a short circle. The dress hugged my waist. The wig, soft, brunette, shoulder-length, fit snugly against my scalp. I brushed it down with a comb I'd hidden in the drawer behind the towels. I had done this enough times to feel comfortable, but never while others were still technically in the house. That's what made this different. The possibility of being caught added a pulse to everything. Every breath felt louder. Every step echoed in my ears. My heart raced. Suddenly, a sound. The door. Not the front. The back door. The one off the kitchen. Voices. They were back. My heart stopped. I glanced at the mirror. I didn't have time. Not enough to remove the makeup. Not enough to peel the dress off without leaving it wrinkled. Not enough to pack everything back into their hiding spots. Panic surged. My first instinct was to run, to lock myself in the bathroom and pray they wouldn't come upstairs. But something inside me paused. I didn't move. I stood perfectly still, listening. They were laughing about the wine. Someone mentioned almost knocking over a stack of magazines. They hadn't noticed I was gone. That bought me time. I tiptoed to the bedroom door and clicked the lock. Then I sat on the edge of the bed, still fully dressed, and tried to breathe. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Downstairs, their laughter had grown louder. The music came on, some retro playlist with Whitney Houston and Madonna. There was a karaoke machine, apparently. I heard them screaming into it, off-key but joyful. That's when I heard it. Let's do makeovers. Bree's voice. The loudest. Let's give each other total glam looks. Old school girls' night, like in college. Yes. Natasha chimed in. I brought lashes. Carmen laughed. Someone get me the red wine. This is going to get wild. I sat frozen, heart pounding. The absurdity of it all hit me in waves. Here I was, already fully made up, transformed, locked upstairs in my wife's dress, while downstairs, her friends prepared to do exactly the same thing to each other. And then something even worse happened.
Knock.
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 A soft tap on my bedroom door. Then her voice. Hey, you in there? It was my wife. I just realized I haven't seen you in, 2 hours. Are you okay? I scrambled to my feet, eyes darting around the room. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to hide. My hand shot to the dress zipper, but it snagged. The lock was the only barrier between me and disaster. Yeah, I called out, voice strained. Just working. I've got headphones in. She laughed.
Okay.
Well, don't be antisocial forever. We miss you down here. Another knock. Maybe we'll come get you in a bit. Give you a little glam, too. Laughter from the hallway. My heart dropped into my stomach. I waited a full 30 minutes before I dared move. Even then, I peeled off the dress with shaking hands, wiped the makeup with trembling fingers, and stuffed everything away sloppily. I didn't even wait for the perfume to fade. By the time I came downstairs, freshly showered, face scrubbed raw, they were too drunk to care. They squealed and laughed when I entered, tossing a pink feather boa around my neck and pulling me into the circle. You missed makeover night, Bree giggled. My wife looked at me and winked. Maybe next time we'll get you in heels. Everyone laughed, except me, because deep down I knew that wasn't a joke anymore. The next morning felt like walking across cracked glass barefoot. My wife was chipper, humming in the kitchen, wearing one of my oversized hoodies and sipping coffee. She didn't mention the night before, not the makeover jokes, not the moment she knocked on the locked door, nothing. I clung to the hope that maybe she hadn't suspected anything. Maybe. But deep down, a part of me knew the truth was unraveling. And it unraveled fast. It started 2 days later. I came home from work early. My meetings had been canceled, so I figured I'd surprise her, grab takeout. Maybe even be romantic for once. But when I walked into the living room, I froze.
Carmen. Bree.
Natasha. Sitting there like they owned the place. Drinking wine. Laughing like they hadn't a care in the world. And on the coffee table right in front of them was the shoebox. My shoebox. The one I kept under the guest bed. Lingerie.
Wigs.
Lipsticks. Even the cheap breast forms I ordered online months ago. They were sifting through it like it was a treasure chest. Oh, hey, babe, my wife said casually, walking in from the kitchen like nothing was wrong. They found your little box. My mouth went dry. My heart stopped. I stared at her, eyes wide. I don't know what. I stammered, stepping forward, but Carmen held up the pink satin panties I thought were well hidden. These yours? She asked sweetly, with that mock-innocent smile. Natasha held up the bodycon dress. This looks like it would fit you perfectly. So your style. My wife didn't flinch. You weren't exactly careful, you know. That shoebox? Kind of obvious. I opened my mouth again, but nothing came out. Just the sound of my breath. Then Bree stood up. She held the wig in her hands, the brunette one I wore almost every time. She walked over and placed it gently on my head. Let's see her, she whispered, a twisted grin spreading across her face. I should have run. Should have grabbed the box and stormed out. Should have screamed or cried or begged. But I didn't. I stood there, frozen, trembling, as they began dressing me.
Piece by piece.
Laughter filled the room as Natasha tugged the panties at my legs. Bree adjusted the bra straps around my chest. Carmen applied foundation with slow, deliberate care, humming as she blended it into my cheeks. They didn't force me. Not physically. But they didn't need to. Every giggle, every compliment that stung like poison, it was enough to keep me paralyzed. Trapped between the terror of humiliation and the aching thrill of being seen. You're really pretty, Carmen murmured as she added a bold lip color. Honestly, you've got better bone structure than half the women I know. They dressed me fully, wig, dress, heels, perfume. Bree even added earrings, clip-ons that dangled lightly when I moved. Then Natasha grabbed her phone.
Click.
A photo. Don't worry, she smirked. Just for us. My stomach twisted. Please don't. My wife watched all of it. her expression unreadable. A glass of wine in one hand, eyes locked on mine. "You should have told me," she finally said. "Do you know how long I suspected something was off?" I tried to answer, but my voice cracked. She stood, walked over, and ran her fingers through the wig like she'd done it 1,000 times before. "This is who you are, isn't it?" I didn't respond. I couldn't. "I could have helped you," she continued, her voice soft. "But now it's not just about you." She turned to her friends. "Ladies," Bree clapped. "Let's give our girl a proper debut." Before I could react, they pulled me toward the mirror. They positioned me just right. My reflection stared back, wide eyes, trembling lips, a complete stranger in the body I thought I controlled. Except she looked real. Not like a joke. Not like a disguise. Like someone desperate to be seen. Carmen leaned in close. "You don't get to hide anymore." I looked at my wife. Her eyes weren't cold. They weren't angry. They were curious, amused, maybe even proud. "You've always wanted to be one of us," she whispered. "Well, now you are." The doorbell rang. Perfect timing, Natasha chirped. We invited a few more girls.
What?
I gasped, voice faint. "Oh, just a couple coworkers," Bree added. "People who might already know. Word gets around, you know." "No, please." But it was too late. The door opened. More voices. More laughter. More eyes. They pulled me into the center of the room. Put a drink in my hand. Called me by a new name, not Mia, something different. Something more humiliating. Something I wasn't ready to hear. And then they asked me to twirl. Just once. I did. Because I was too far gone to fight. That night blurred into memory, like a fever dream I didn't ask for. I don't remember how many people came. I don't remember all their names. What I do remember are the flashes of phones. The compliments said too sweetly. The laughter that cut sharper than knives. And the way I smiled through it all because I didn't know what else to do. I don't know when I stopped pretending to resist. Maybe it was when Carmen painted my nails bubblegum pink while I sat on her lap, like a doll. Maybe it was when Natasha taught me how to pose for selfies. Maybe it was when Bree kissed my cheek and whispered, "Good girl." Or maybe it was when my wife walked behind me, smoothed down my wig, and said, "She's finally ready." The next morning, I didn't change. I stood in front of the mirror again. Same wig, same tight dress, same soft lashes and glossy lips. But something had shifted. I wasn't just playing along anymore. I was someone else. I didn't know who yet, but he was gone. When I walked into the kitchen, Bree and Carmen were still there, sipping coffee in robes like they'd stayed over. Natasha was scrolling through photos on her phone. "Morning, princess," Carmen purred. "Sleep well?" I nodded. My wife looked at me from over her mug. "You'll need to do better with your walk. We're not finished with you yet." "Finished?" I asked softly. She smiled. "You really think this was just a prank?" Silence. She stood and walked over slowly, every step deliberate. Then she pulled out her phone. One video. Just one. Me, in full makeup, giggling, twirling, blowing kisses. They'd filmed all of it. My stomach sank. "You wouldn't." "I wouldn't what?" she asked, tilting her head. "You embarrassed me. Lied to me. Hid from me.
And now?
You belong to us." Tears filled my eyes. "Please." She lowered her voice. "We're not going to hurt you. We're going to remake you." "For real this time," Carmen added. "No more half measures." I whispered, "Why?" "Because deep down," my wife said, "you love it. You need it. And now we need something too." She leaned in close. "A new girl in the group." Then she said the name. The new one. Not Mia. Something worse. More childish. More humiliating. The kind of name a group of mocking friends gives the weakest girl in their clique. And it stuck. For the next few weeks, that name became my entire world. They took over everything. My wife donated my male clothes. They replaced my work-from-home schedule with beauty routines, voice lessons, deportment training, waxing, shaping, piercing. They even took me out in public, Once to a salon, once to a lingerie boutique, once to a bar where I had to sit at a table and let men flirt with me just to prove I could handle it. I wasn't allowed to speak unless spoken to. Every mistake meant a punishment, usually recorded, always humiliating. Eventually, I stopped making mistakes.
Because part of me stopped resisting.
The day I called myself by my new name without being told was the day everything changed. They all clapped. My wife took my hand and said, "She's finally one of us." And I realized she meant it. She had broken me, but I didn't feel broken. I felt seen. A garden party, summer dresses, light music, laughter. I'm there, center of attention, wearing a pale pink sundress, heels, my hair curled just the way they like it, a matching clutch in my manicured hands. I serve drinks, compliment outfits, blush when they tease me. My wife sits in the shade, sunglasses on, watching like a queen who conquered a kingdom. Bree whispers, "Our little doll's come so far." Carmen replies, "She's perfect now." They toast to me, and I smile. Not because I want to, because it's all I know how to do now. And deep down, maybe it's all I ever wanted.